Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Way That I See It. My name is Lucy Superfox, and this is my podcast. So, hair on my lip. Love that. So, I called this episode The Next Chapter, and I imagine most people will be listening to this thinking, oh my gosh, she's going to make some huge announcement about something else. And I'm not. So, I don't want you to get through this whole episode thinking I'm about to tell you something brand new is coming to my life and that I'm writing this whole new story, because that's just not the case. What I'm going to share with you tonight is what the next chapter really means, about how to really use the concept of seasons and chapters in your life to not only help you create the change that you're looking for, but how to reconcile seasons and periods of your life and how to draw lines on those periods in your life. So the first thing I would share is that we're often really attached to linear things. We're often really attached to years, to months, to, the first of the month, the last of the month. We're attached to Mondays. We're attached to, January 1st or December 1st or quarters, especially if you work in business, right? Quarters, and you're that quarter, and then you're this quarter. And one of the biggest pieces of advice I could give you is to try to reduce the meaning of outside timelines and deadlines, and instead try to give meaning to the timelines that feel good to you, that matter to you, that are right to you. So give you an example of that. So let's say you've got a timeline of you wanting to shift and change something by the end of a month, right? Or you wanted to shift and change something by the end of this year. But truthfully, maybe things aren't going the way that you want. Maybe business isn't heading in the direction that you wanted or you thought you'd be in right now. Maybe that you thought you'd be further ahead by now. Maybe you thought your income would have changed by now. Maybe you thought you'd have found a new job by now. Maybe you thought you'd have found the new house right now. Maybe you thought you would have found the kids' new school right now. Like, whatever the thing is that you've set a timeline on, or whatever your goal is that's attached to this timeline. The challenge is, when you're attached to the timeline, what you're actually doing is putting yourself in a restrictive energy, because you're telling yourself subconsciously, if I don't achieve this thing by this certain date, most likely you're telling yourself you failed. Even if you tell the story that if I don't get there, it doesn't matter, actually then what you're doing is saying, well, don't fucking even bother. So when we release the need to have specific set timelines, we also release the need to feel like we're stuck in a certain, like a phase or a chapter. Because the thing is, a lot of us are waiting to arrive. A lot of us are waiting to get to a different place in life to feel different. So whether that's a different weight, a different income goal, a different business goal, a lot of us are thinking that the way that we want to feel, or the emotion that we're seeking, is on the other side of that goal. And I can tell you, as somebody who's achieved some fucking incredible things, 20K plus months, top level in a network marketing company, 6-figure coaching business, left a corporate job, was high up in a corporate job, has been married before, I can tell you I never felt any different after the event than I did before the event. Never. Because it's all about what we make it mean. So if you are making the thing happening mean that you're going to feel different, you're not going to feel different, because the thing happening is a one-time momentary event. It happens in the moment. So let's say your deadline is the end of the month. You get to the end of the month. What happens on the first of the month, right? So instead, really what I want you to instead phrase or see chapters and seasons as is seasons where you have a certain intention for who you want to be in that time, or it's a chapter of life where you were telling certain stories of you being a certain person, and you want to shift and change who you were being and what the story you were telling is in that chapter or season. And when you release the need to tell the same story, that is a new chapter and a new season. And maybe it is sometimes within the end of those seasons, end of those chapters, letting goals go. Sometimes we do just need to release goals up and say, you know what, maybe I'm not the person I need to be yet, and to relinquish and release the goal, because sometimes the goal is actually keeping us stuck. Sometimes it's not the fact we don't believe we can have the goals, and it's not believe we can be the person, or that we're not worthy. And often it's not that at all. Usually instead what it is the fact that we are in so much energy of not being in the goal, because we're so attached to how we will feel when we achieve the goal, that truthfully we're actually just in a low vibe state about it. And often when we then release the goal and just let it freaking go, just let it go, what often happens is we free up the pressure. And this is one of my experiences I had this week, is we take the pressure away. And when we take the pressure away, things get fun again. Look, the reason you got into training or got into the gym or wanted to be healthier was because you wanted to feel better and have more fun. The reason that you started the business because you love what you did and you wanted to, it was really fun and you enjoyed it. Or the reason that you wanted to make more money and have this money gone in the first place is because usually what it's going to buy you is more fun and freedom. So you being in an energy of restriction and tight and nervousness and anxious and pressure is like totally the opposite of the actual end result you're seeking. And if we remember that the end result is actually what we're seeking is a state of being and a state of feeling, being attached to the achievement of the goal doesn't bring you the state or the feeling, you do, right? So instead, think about manifestation this way around. We have to, and it's called embodiment. There's a whole bonus on this in the becoming module, right? And in the Mastering Manifestation bundle. So if your budget right now does not stretch to the becoming course, then you can check out and you can get the Mastering Manifestation bundle. And if you DM me the word manifest, I can send you a 50% discount code too for that. And that's just in the shop. But yeah, I hold a whole video on embodiment. And really, embodiment is being in the energy of the thing that you want. And if you were to be in the energy of the thing that you want for a period of time, right? Because time is sometimes required, right? Because sometimes the universe needs to move the pieces. Like if you set another clear intention, I don't know, maybe you set an intention that you want to meet somebody, maybe you're single. This is a really good example. The universe doesn't need, maybe the person that you set the intention to meet because of the person that you want to become, because of how you pivoted and changed, is currently in a relationship with someone else, and they need to find a way to leave that person, or for that relationship to break down, for them to be healed enough to be open to a new relationship with you. Like time is a factor and a consideration there, right? Same with weight loss. Even though you might have switched the intention, be embodying the energy, like biologically, there is a time requirement for how fast you can lose weight, right? And yes, of course, it can vary the speed, but there is a time requirement. It does not happen overnight. So when you think about what it is you actually want to achieve, it's likely a feeling, it's likely a state of being. Look, guys, when people say this to me, I used to think they just want me to settle for where I am. But here's the thing, when you actually, and this is the quote by Carl Jung, when one accepts oneself, the moment one truly accepts oneself, then one can change. So when you truly accept where you are and stop fighting where you are and stop pushing from where you are, and you actually just accept where you are from this really state of like peace, this is where I am right now, and this is the energy I want to be in, so this is where I want to be, and this energy I want to be in, and you embody the energy rather than being attached to deadlines, timelines, timeframes, specific moments, you actually take off all the freaking pressure and you make it fun again. And this is why I think that a lot of people let go of goals actually do matter to them, because, and I mean let go, I mean like literally quit and be like, doesn't fucking work for me, it doesn't fucking work, I can never lose weight, I always date the wrong man, business doesn't grow, you know, Instagram's dead, whatever the fucking story they're telling is. It's just an excuse for the fact that they couldn't stay in the energy of the thing that they wanted because they were so focused on achieving it by a certain timeline or this imaginary concept they would feel different when they got there. So my strong advice is, instead of being attached to the timeline and the deadline and the chapter as in like, you know, a specific date, is instead focused on actually how you want to feel in this next chapter, like how you want to be in this next chapter, who do you want to be in this next season? And ultimately your energy is what creates your magnetic or your manifesting power, right? So when your energy is attached to a timeline, a deadline, it's actually quite tight, it's quite restrictive, it's quite linear, it's quite negative. So actually when you step back, you take the pressure off, you move into a state of like fun, you're in a state of abundance, you're in a state of joy. Not only is that a much higher vibration, but also it's actually how you want to feel when you get there. Because most people say things like, I'll only be happy when I'm a size whatever, right? But truthfully, let's say you wanted to lose 20 pounds and you lost 18. Are you going to be mad about it? Fucking no, right? The same thing with your business. Let's say you want to have a 10K month and you make 8.5. You're not going to be pissed, right? So I think what we have to remember is instead to be in the energy of the thing that we want rather than being attached to the timeline or the deadline. And when we do that, what we allow ourselves to do is not only move up the vibrational scale, releasing the pressure, having more fun, but what we also allow ourselves to do is to remember why we started this, is to remember the thing that actually got us excited in the first place, or remember what matters to us. So the reason why for me personally, chapters and seasons are about how I feel and who I'm being in that season, rather than being attached to a timeline, a deadline, or a linear construct, is because I get to choose that chapter or season every single fucking day. So my current season, I've talked about this, is soft girl season. My current season of life is right now is encouraging my body to build back up from burnout. It's allowing my mind the creative capacity to design how I want life to look next. It's a place where I value rest and inspiration and alignment over spinning my wheels, hustling and getting stuff done for the sake of it. And look, as I say, work is always required, effort is always required, action is always required. But it's the energy that we do it in that matters, right? And so for me personally, this is not the time to be hustling for hustling's sake. This is not the time to be in my masculine and this aggressive. This is, to me, is my soft girl season. This is the space where I am in the place of my rest, my self-care, how I feel in each moment. Like today, I was like, what do I need? I was like, what do I need this afternoon? Came my period today. My periods are pretty rough. I'm actually going through some gynecological testing at the moment, but like, I was like, what do I need? And I was like, I need a fucking bar of chocolate. And I was like, do I though? Right? Because I've got enough awareness to know when your brain's going, oh, chocolate would be nice, versus I need a fucking bar of chocolate. And I was like, I need some fucking sugar. I'm struggling to eat. My appetite's off. When I'm on my period, my stomach gets a bit upset. I really struggle to eat. I struggle to digest things. And so I just wanted something high calorie and sugar. So I bought some freaking chocolate. Guys, within half an hour, I felt amazing. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm good to do my podcast and record Becoming Module 6. I was like, okay, let's freaking go. So sometimes it's about knowing what do you need in that moment, but that can only come. For me personally, this is the season where I'm asking that question rather than getting it done because I said to myself I would get it done. And in neither season am I in a lack of integrity, because in each season it's a different kind of integrity, right? The integrity in this season is nourishing myself, taking care of myself, and allowing my growth and my expansion and my wealth and my business to come from a high vibration, a nurturing vibration, a feminine vibration, a loving vibration. And there will probably be a season and a chapter in my life that, no doubt, and who knows, it might even start tomorrow, guys. We never know, right? We get to decide in every moment what feels right, where I step into my masculine, where it's time to drive, it's time to push, it's time to, and I just don't feel like that right now. And so this season for me is about recognizing how I want to feel and what do I need in this season. And so rather than looking at your life in linear constructs of months or days or weeks or years or timelines or deadlines or goals or not goals being hit, sometimes it's just good to take the pressure off and instead focus how we want to feel and recognize and allow ourselves to be honest with ourselves about what we actually need in this season. And for me, that is how chapters can really be redefined in an instant. And sometimes the thing with a chapter is it will be the thing that you least expect. Like I said this in my post, right? Sometimes it'll be a pivot. Sometimes it'll be the opposite direction. Sometimes it'll be, you might have been driving towards something for 5-6 years and then suddenly you're like, oh, wait, I don't want that anymore. But allowing yourself and giving yourself the room and the space to be able to decide that for yourself, rather than continuously pushing against something because you once wanted it and now you probably should, whether that's a body goal or a business goal, a relationship goal, whatever it is. Like, what you have to remember is that you get to decide what the chapters and seasons are, how they look, what they stand for, what they mean. And for me personally, like, my season right now is a different energy than I've ever been in. It was a pivot from what I expected. I thought that the next season was going to be a period of like hustle and drive. And actually what it's turned out to be is a season of just taking my foot off and allowing things to come naturally and allowing myself to trust myself and to say what I want to say and do what I want to do. And, I am in the fortunate financial position where, I do have a ton of flexibility. So I don't have to, show up aggressively at an office 9 to 5, right? But at the same time, I still had the choice when I did have stuff to do and work to do about the energy I was in. I just told a story that I was in a certain chapter and therefore I had to behave a certain way. But we get to determine what each chapter means and who we get to be in each chapter. And remember that if we actually focus on who we need to be in the chapter rather than what we need to achieve and by when, what you'll often find is you'll manifest the goal easier than you ever thought. Because when we step into embodiment, when we step into the energy of the thing that we want, we then become a magnet for the thing that we want. But when we're focused on the fact we don't have the thing that we want, then the thing that we want has a deadline or a timeline or a time frame, and we're not there yet, and we have this imaginary feeling about how we're going to feel when we get there, we're actually in a lack vibration. We're actually in we're in a mindset of lack. We're in a mindset of scarcity. We're in a mindset of not enoughness because we're perceiving there'll be more when we achieve the goal. And actually, one of the biggest lessons I could tell you, obviously there's always so many when you're going through a period of growth, but for me has been just to allow myself to be happy now and allow life to be good now. And if this is all it ever is, then this is good now. And to step into the energy of gratitude for what it is, because as I said, the moment one truly accepts oneself, then we can change. Because when we take the pressure off and we allow ourselves to step into fun and an abundant energy and remove the scarcity, the pressure, and we also remove the blocks, we remove the stories, we remove the limiting beliefs, because there is no should, there is no have to, there is no must do. There is only, who do I want to be right now? Who do I want to be in this next chapter or season of my life? So that's all I had to say. So you get to decide what your chapters look like. You get to decide what your seasons look like. For me right now, this is my soft girl season. And I'm sure at some point there'll be a step into something else. But you get to decide. It's your life. And it's really always up to the way you want to see it. So this was the way that I see it. Thank you so much for joining my podcast. I would love to hear what you have to say. You can always drop me a message on Instagram at Lucy Superfox, at Next Level Lucy. And I'll see you on the next episode.